Okay, Jade. I don't know exactly where your skill set is, so I'll show you what I would do, and then you can sort of work backwards, I guess, and deconstruct it from there. But I would go first. What I did is I took your picture. Did I do that yet? No, I haven't. Okay, I'm going to go to File, uh, New Document. I normally just do a 10-inch by 10-inch. You can do letter size if that's what you're going to end up printing on. I don't know why. Just like a 10 by 10, 300 dpi, and I create an artboard just so that when I've got elements outside of the artboard, I can see them. They don't show up if you don't. So I get this nice blank canvas. So I'm going to go to use the last time that you. No, you sent me the message. There we go. Yeah. I'll go to your message and follow this link. Oh, I guess I already have that. Right click, copy. I'm going to paste that in here as a reference. I'm going to size it up to about where I'm going to work. Um, I can hold down the control key and drag another copy out here to save it, just for color references and stuff like that. But this one, I'm going to hit the number 5 key along the top to drop the opacity down to 50%. You can see here on the layers panel, you can just do it there, same as Photoshop, that kind of stuff. I'm also going to lock this image right there next to the visibility is where you click for the lock, and so that I don't accidentally select that. So now you could draw a bee. You can use circles, and I can hit the number 3 key to change the opacity on that, and make your own circles and that kind of stuff, and then hold down control and get another circle and sort of do the thorax and that kind of thing. Hold down the control key to um, size to the middle, draw sort of basic skills, and then you could hold control and drag another copy and sort of squish that and make a head. If you wanted to make it a little more oblong and that kind of thing, and you select all 3 of the shapes and go up to your Boolean operations at the top and add them together, and now you've got one shape. If I make it opacity and then start cutting holes into it, start taking just random like this and selecting both of them and hitting the subtract instead. Now you've got sort of you can take a knife tool over here and sort of make the jagged cuts that you want into that square. And then just take all these and delete them. You see what I'm doing there. I'm starting to sort of build this bee. Or you can use Inkscape, which is always a good option. What you do, go back to the internet, and I found a bee just by searching bee SVG. Find one that looks sort of similar to what you want, that doesn't have too much of this garbage all over top of it. If you have Creative Fabrica, which I do, I have a subscription. You can find it on here. Um, and it'll be something that's nice and clear and ready to go, and you know copyright paid for, all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have access to that and you just want to practice, find something like this, right click it, copy that, take it into Inkscape, and I'm going to paste it in just like that. It'll look just like that. It might have a white background, but this works the same whether or not it has a white background or not. I'm going to go up to Path, Trace Bitmap, and this over here will show up. These sliders on the right, you don't really have to worry much about. Just this threshold. You go down too much, you'll lose things and it'll disappear. And if you go up too much, you'll start to see how it's filling things in, and then it goes completely black. So somewhere in the middle usually works pretty well. You'll sort of see the bits growing. You'll lose some details in the tail, and the wings might start to grow together. So just find a place and then click apply. It looks like nothing happened, but if you go back over and drag, there's your SVG. And this is now made up of nodes that you can alter. So like most every software, if you do something you don't want to do, hold down control, hit zebra. Most of these programs as well, you hold down the control key, roll in and out to zoom in and out. hold down the middle mouse key and drag around that kind of stuff. Anyways, what I'm going to do now, since I like working in Affinity, I'm going to right click this SVG, copy it, go back over to Affinity, and Control V to paste. We're going to edit paste. Okay, it's awfully small. Now, when you hover in the corner, some objects are different, and sometimes I feel like I've got a hold of it, and then I don't. But when you hover over, look down at the bottom of the screen, down here, just above your taskbar, whether it be Windows or Mac, and it's always giving you instructions about what to do with the current tool that you've got selected or whatever. Whenever you click, it sort of gives you instructions of how those tools work. So make sure you look down there. That's very, very helpful. So when I've got the move tool selected, it'll say drag to move, what you have selected. Click another object to select it. Select an empty area to deselect, and return to enter in the move duplication value. So that's advanced, the move duplication stuff, but that's very cool. You'll see that when you get into duplicating, it's incredible the stuff you can do with this. Very precise. But anyway, so when I hover over a corner, you'll see it changes down there, and it'll say shift to ignore the aspect ratio. So that if I wanted to squish it and make it all weird shaped, then I would hold down the shift key. But if it says shift to ignore, then obviously not using shift will keep the aspect ratio. So anyways, and control to resize, run like center, right mouse to resize and rotate, blah, blah, blah. All those things are very nice to have, anyways. But just, I'm going to grab just a corner, and with nothing else held down, just the mouse button, I'm going to size this up. Okay, and then since the aspect ratio is maintained, it was, but now I'm going to kind of try to get it to look a little bit more like the B we've got here. So now I'm going to, when I go from the sides, you'll see that when I go from the sides, it'll say um, you can resize it, but for some reason the corners will maintain the aspect ratio, the sides don't. So always go from the corner if you want to keep it, and the top and the bottom just allow you to do those axes. So this isn't great, but it's close. We're not going to, unless we search high-low for that one B, we're not going to find it. So anyways, we got that guy. So now, if we want to do some layers, cut layers to color, what I'm going to do is go over here to the left, and this tool right here is called the Vector Flood Fill tool, and this thing is really cool. So what you're going to do, and here's the color that it's going to be, and here's the color over here that's also going to be in the colors panel. If you don't see any of these panels that I've got, you go to Window and select Color. Make sure it's checked. If you don't see anything that you're looking for, like if your text panel, or you're working with text or something like that, and you can nest these things anywhere. And you just have to play around. There's lots of ways to right-click and customize your toolbar. You can right-click on, you can go into the settings and just change the layout and that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, the default studio works pretty well, but there'll be some stuff you might be missing, or you might accidentally close it, and that's where to find them. Just make sure they're clicked, and I'll be back. So anyways, back to the Vector Flood Fill tool. So I want to do this yellow on his tail, so I'm going to go over to my color wheel and find a yellow. And then now I'm going to make sure that my if I click on the layer there, it's just going to color it. So what I need to do is click on it in the panel here, just to select it. You'll see that it's got the blue lines around it, and a vector flood fill. And now, just if you see, when I go into an area, it sort of changes the look. And click or drag to fill in this area. Okay, so Control to make new layer selection. I don't want to do a new layer selection, so I'm just going to click, and see what happened there is it colored that empty area in yellow, and it made over here a new layer that's yellow. So I'm going to click that one, and that one, and that one. Now I've got 3 separate layers that are all yellow. But now, for Cricut people, I'm going to click on the first one in the layers panel, hold down shift, and do the last one. And then at the top, I'm going to add. And now I've got a yellow layer. So there's my first cut layer. I've got a black layer, that's my cut layer. I've got a yellow layer, that's a cut layer. And now for the white, we can go to the, select this outline layer again, this black one that has the outline. And then I'll choose white as my color. And I'll do the exact same thing. Hold down Control and zoom in a little bit, get a little more precise. I'm going to click all these little areas. You can drag and fill, but you see when I crossed over it did the whole thing. So I hit Control Z to go back. And I'll just do one wing for the sake of brevity. That's out the window already because I could do these long videos. But anyways, so now you see you got all these areas. So what I can do is select the first one, hold down Shift, hit the last one, and then Boolean operations. Boom. Now I've got a wing. It's a cut file. Now, here's the deal. They are separated. And if that's the way you want it, you have to figure out what you want to do. You can do something like this. What I would normally do, like if I were, since those pieces are smaller, I want a base to put everything on. So what I'm going to do is with my black layer selected, I'm going to hold down Control and hit J, and that's to duplicate. I'm going to make a duplicate of that. I'm going to drag that black layer underneath all the other layers. Okay, I'm going to turn off every layer but that one. Okay, so now I'm looking at this outline layer. And you could color in all these things with black, and it gets to be a little bit messy if there happens to be like a weird outline or something there. But what I normally do when I want to make a background like this, and this is a perfect shape for it. With I hit the Move tool just to do a regular selection. So I've got this selected. I'm going to go up to Layer, down to Geometry, and I'm going to click Fill Holes, and boom. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep this outline layer, but I'm not going to show it right now. But now I've got this background black layer and a layer of yellow, and now the layer of white. And I could probably hold it, Control J, go up to the top, flip that horizontal. I'm going to hold down the Shift key while I move this over to the left, and it really is just a copy. So you didn't even have to do it the other side. So I got these two layers. I could select those two and add them together. And now we've got just that white layer. We've got the yellow layer and the black layer. So our B is pretty much done. So what I would do, this is already in a group. So when you export this SVG over to Cricut, they're all going to come into the same spot. And since those individual shapes are welded, sort of united into one shape, they're going to stay in the same spot. They're not going to do that thing that Cricut does where it tries to lay them all over the place. And since, and if you had other white areas, you could group them and they'll do the same thing. They'll be separate objects, but they will maintain their, that attach that Cricut calls it. They'll stay and spatially related to each other. So what we can do now, literally just go over to the shape tools and try to find, there's a polygon tool, so we want a hexagon. We can go right here, number of sides 6, we can just type it in, 6, and then we can drag it out, and it'll say to hold down the Shift to change proportions so it'll be a perfect one. We can do that, and then, oops, didn't do it perfectly. I'm going to hold down Control and Shift, do it from the middle. I'm going to let go of my mouse before I let go of those stuff. Now, you can go to the corners and get a small arrow, or these rotate things, or you can, there's always a little antenna looking thing up here where you can rotate that. This here will skew it. You don't want that, you want to rotate it. But you can also, with it selected, next to the flip, there is a rotate clockwise and counterclockwise. So now you got this guy is almost the right size, and I'm going to put him below our B. And if you wanted it to be just an outline over here in the panel, this is your fill and this is your stroke. So I'm going to take fill and get rid of it. And then I'm going to take, you need to go to appearance and change the stroke here. I go to window and select the stroke panel, and it lives down here. And you can, another good thing about Affinity, I don't know if you have any other software that does this, but you can roll your mouse wheel over one of these boxes where I've got how many points the stroke is. Just roll it back and forth and sort of watch the screen and get. So now I'm going to select the B and the polygon and go up and hit the alignment button and make sure that they're centered. I don't necessarily want it centered up and down, but left and right. So now you could combine, like you can convert something to curves and play around with the shape of it and all kinds of stuff, whatever you want to do. But you could combine this black layer so that this would all be fused together if you wanted to, but you don't have to. You could do it in another color, or if you wanted to make it separate, so you could make them on different layers as far as depth and that kind of stuff goes. You could just leave it like that, but I would at least group them so that they will cut in the same spot. Cricut though will cut a line here and cut that out separately, and then you'll end up with um, that missing underneath. And I wouldn't do that. But anyways, you could cut it on a separate sheet, if you wanted to, on a separate mat. Drag it over to another mat. But you're just going to do the same thing with these other. Now that we already have that tool selected in the polygon, and we can just make one like that, and then you could take the stroke and drag it down a little bit on that one, and then in order to make these shapes up here, I'm going to again clockwise it. Hold down Control and drag another copy there. Hold down Control, drag another copy right there. Select all three of these, and if we want to, just combine them and now they're one shape. Now that we've got that, we can hold down Control, drag another one over there. Hold down Control, drag another one down here. Control, drag another one down here. And then, you've got another square for the outside piece. Just you have to size these things. Drag them around as you want to. And if there's an object that you like a lot, you want to use a bunch, you can go over to your Assets panel again, go to Windows and Assets. And in this panel, I've got all kinds of little pieces that I've put in here that I like to use a lot. And so what you would do, if you like this particular shape, go up here to the and say Add from Selection, and now that lives there. And I can drag that shape out whenever I want to. Which is really nice and speed up your workflow a lot of times. Looks like I've got 2 copies of it. I'll keep palettes and stuff in here, like if there's a certain color palette I like to use a lot. So, anyways, that should get you started. And then, if you've got this one, you want an outline, but you also want to have, like, say, this yellow block back here. What I would do is take this block, hold down Control, hit J, and on the one below it, go and turn off the stroke, and then turn on a yellow. And if I want that exact yellow, I can use my eyedropper tool and just grab it from anywhere. You can grab it from over here, from the picture that you like. I mean, affinity is pretty awesome. You can actually, if you have like the internet up, you can actually grab the eyedropper tool and grab colors from a web page or something like that. If you like this orange here, it'll actually load it into the thing. It's loaded into the eyedropper now. In order to get it over here, you've got to click it again, and it'll load that in there. So that's created that for that rectangle, which I need to drag down to the bottom. But you see where we're going here. All this stuff is starting to come into shape. You've got like your thing pretty, getting lined up pretty good. You use your align tools. This one's selected, and then select that one. You can hit the align. You have to make them like that. And if you take that one, you can align it to this one on a horizontal plane, like it already is, and that kind of thing. There's some nice tools as far as alignment. You can click, like say on this one, hold down, do all. Oops. That. This one, and this one. Go to Layer, Alignment, and you can distribute them horizontally, and then they'll equally space themselves out from this one to this one. So if there were 800 of them, it doesn't matter. You say, I want to start here, and I want to end here, and they'll space them all out in between there. So that's a nice thing to do. I've made a lot of cool dotted notebooks and stuff that way, but you're starting to already. So for these shapes, you can do the same thing you did with the bee, find those shapes, but they're really easy. You can do some cool stuff in here with like flowers by making a circle, and then what you can do is kind of a little more of an advanced feature, but say like that shape that was in there, I get rid of the fill and then do the same orange for a circle. I'm going to make the stroke. I like that stroke. That's fine. So I'm going to drag that over there. Okay. So now this is sort of sitting like a petal on a flower. Now with this one selected, there's a little thing, enable transform origin, and now this tells you the computer where you want, like, say, to rotate from. See how it's rotating around that dot? Well, I want to have it rotate around the center of the flower. So I go there and make sure your snapping is on up here, this little magnet. You've probably used snapping before, but it'll snap to the center of that circle. And now when I rotate, it rotates around this, like this. Okay, so now this is how we use affinity to our advantage. This is called power duplicate. So with that petal selected, I'm going to hold down Control and hit J, and another copy will show up over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate that one. I'm going to hold down the Shift key so it snaps into certain angles, like 15-degree angles. Okay, now that I let go of everything, that one's still selected. Just hold down Control and hit J. It's going to make another copy and do the exact same transformation that I did last time. This would look better if the center of my flower was a circle, like a perfect circle instead of an oval, but I just hit Control J as many times as I want to, and it makes another copy and applies the change that I did last. So there you go. All of those are now your petals. You can hold down and combine them all, and now you can work with them, like, say, oh, I decided I want to have a fill. I can make a yellow fill or something like that, and then if you wanted to make a different center, you could go to the center of that circle and let's try to do that. I'm going to turn off that rotation thing. It gets in the way sometimes. I'm not doing anything, but it'll still tell me what the center is, and I can draw another perfect circle there just to make it look a little better. And then I could take all those shapes, and this might goof it up a little bit. Yeah, it did. So I would group these, in order to do that, and then that would be a piece that you put over top of it. But if you do a print and cut, it's not going to know the difference. You can go in here and rasterize this, and now it's not vectors anymore. That leaves that vector behind, but this is just like a sticker. But you have to see now this rasterized, it'll start to get pixels, whereas a true vector will not. There is no pixel information. It's just points, and so it can be. You can print this on the moon, and it'll look the same as it does on a business card. So, anyways, that's a lot, and I'm sorry, but it's real powerful, man. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do in here. What I do when I'm doing vinyl stuff, it's not so much with this paper stuff because you are picking it up. But if you do vinyl, I keep a shape like this around to use as a registration mark. And what I'll do is I'll put it somewhere close to my designs. And so if these are all pieces of vinyl in different layers, all these different layers, what I would do is, I'm going to turn off this orange layer just because I wouldn't need it for that, but I would make a copy for the number of colors I've got. So I've got one copy that's black, one yellow, and one white. And what I would do is select the black layer and combine. I would take one of the shapes, hold down Control. You can't select something when it's locked, but so I take the other one, hold down Control, hit the yellow, combine. It's going to turn yellow. But see what that did was, is it put a where's my black layer? Oh, it's weird. Oh, because that guy's down there. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's I think I attached it to the wrong layer. We start over. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a yellow one, I'm taking, let's see, two, and get rid of this down here. Okay, so if I had a black, and I would take a black, there we go. Add those two together. And then a yellow and another copy, add those two together, and then the white and another copy, and add those two together. So now all that did was, is I've got a white, the yellow is attached to this yellow, so that when I take this, cut it out of vinyl, I would lay it down. Say if I laid it down first, I would have, well, I've got white, I've got yellow. God. So what I would do is if I were doing my layering, I would lay this yellow on top of the white, and then I know that they're in the exact same place that they need to be. Does that make sense to you? So if these two are lined up, then these are lined up. And then that way, when I take my black one and I bring it into place with my um, transfer sheet, and I lay that black over top of that, and I know that as long as all those arrows are lined up, then all my pieces are lined up. So anyways, that's just a little tip. I don't know if you do any layering like that at all. And see, I can tell it's off right now, so I would need to take one of those, the black layer, I guess. See, I'm real bad. I'm pretty good at designing and really bad at installing vinyl. But again, this one's got the holes in it. I like the one that's solid in the back, and you can do the same thing with this one. Layer again, geometry, fill holes. It's a nice little tip. But also, if you have them say like this, and you wanted those holes, you don't like to layer things, you can, there's nothing, you, in order to cut stuff in Affinity, you've got to make like a copy of the yellow, and if you wanted to cut those pieces out of the black, you're going to lose your yellow, see like that. So I'm going to undo that. So you'd have to make hit Control J and make a copy of the yellow layer, and then subtract it, you'd be left with the yellow layer. But that's fine with 2 layers, but if you get into lots of layers, you go into Inkscape again. You can go back and forth between these 2 programs pretty easily. But what they have a little cool function in there is called flatten. You go to path and flatten, and it keeps all of your shapes, even if you're using 40 shapes. But it smashes them all down to where you've only got 1 layer of paper or vinyl in one given spot. So, if there's like a whole bunch of shapes, you're going to end up with 5, 6, 7 layers deep of this stuff, and you don't want that. I can click on some different colors so you can see. But say we've got all these shapes and we don't want all that. You don't have to choose them all. You can choose some, not the other ones. But when you go to path and flatten, what you'll end up with is layers that have, see how that green, this dark gray down here is just the document. It doesn't count. But see how you cut everything to where the green is flat on the surface. The orange is flat on the surface. Anything that was underneath got cut away and removed. So it's a good way if you end up going into, say, Affinity, and you're just throwing shapes on top of shapes on top of shapes on top of shape on top of shape, and you're going to end up with like 15 things sitting on the same corner. You don't want that. Then go in. I'll do copy and paste and take it over to Inkscape and blast it all down to 1 layer, and then you can do like I did with filling in the geometry and stuff. If there's some pieces you need to put back together, but you'll figure it out with the tools once you start playing with them, which ones are appropriate for what job. They're all useful, so don't. While Affinity is my favorite program, and I do a lot of fun stuff in here, just don't get married to this one. You know what I mean? It's by itself. You know what I mean? There's a lot of cool stuff I can do. I feel very comfortable in here, and I've never found anything quite like it. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm always going over to Photoshop to use the AI a little bit on my tumblers so that I can get rid of my seams and that kind of stuff. And I'll go make some patterns and stuff over there. Um, but yeah, speaking of patterns, so effing cool. Like you can take like watch this. You can take like just a regular rectangle or something. Instead of filling with a color, you can do gradients. You hold down G and just drag, and you can just get a gradient tool and go in here and I want to change this blue to like a red or something like that. And again, I'll go from blue to red, and you can change right here on the screen if you want to, like where that cutoff is, and that kind of stuff. Move the red down here to get some more blue. I mean, it's gorgeous, the stuff that you can do. And you can, if I made another circle, it's gonna pretty much pick that same thing. But then if like I see this piece over here, I can go copy, and then here I can just hit edit, paste, style. Well, that piece is locked. So, but if I had any other shape that was like, say, just that or something like that, while it's selected, I could hit edit, paste style, and it'll automatically take on the style of that copy, that I did before. But you don't just have to use colors and gradients. You can go here, and with the gradient tool selected, you can choose a bitmap, which you can just find a pattern that you've downloaded or something like that, or you've created. What I do is I take my patterns and put them into the assets panel, and when I click on it, boom, I've got that as a pattern, and I can just drag it around like so, make it as small as I want to, as big as I want to, rotate it, burn my computer to the ground because the processing power it takes to do this. But very cool, just really cool, really cool. And when that one's doing the same thing, but like if you go and punch things out, it just automatically fills in to that area, and you can size it differently however you want to. Anyways, I can go on and gush about this software, but enjoy it and let me know if you have any questions. Oh, and then to sort of save this as an SVG, you can either do this is your artboard, and so you can do the whole artboard, you can do the whole document, which is everything in this, or you can do just like, okay, so I just want this B for now, or something like this, or something like that, right? So um, I'll break that apart. Where that? So I just want this background. I need to cut this out. I can just go to File and Export, and then you've got your lists of file types up here. And like I say, I don't want the whole document or the artboard. I just want to do the selection only. So there's my B, and I don't want a PNG. I want an SVG. The only thing you really have to worry about on here, I use DPI of 72 because Cricut likes that. It pretty much comes in true to size at 72. But other than that, the only thing you have to watch out for, Cricut does not like you to bring in text from the outside. So you either need to, when you can say export your text as curves, which is always a good thing to do. I tend to convert it beforehand because when you do text, uh, you'll see right now it's treating it as text, and so it is editable as text. You can go and you can change the font, that kind of thing. You can go into the glyph browser, and add your glyphs, and that kind of thing. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do here. Just tons. You can move letters around with the Alt key and the arrows just to space things out perfectly. And anyways, it's brilliant. But you'll see what happens when you go to, when you have the move tool selected, it'll say convert to curves. Now you can no longer edit it as text, but it is a shape. So if you have a font that just doesn't quite work for you, you can go in and literally edit that font. If you don't like these lines, or there's one that's got like a shape that's a little bit different, you can just go and do whatever you want to. This one's a little bit hard to do because it is got all these little lines. But if you would go to something like this, um, and say you didn't like that particular font, something like this, and you wanted to cut this off or something, you could go and convert it to a shape and do whatever you want to. It's just a shape. You could go and you could add pieces onto it, or cut them off by taking the shape, selecting that shape and using the subtract, and then now you've got a different type of font. And if you wanted to, you could take these two nodes here and stretch them back out however you wanted to, do anything. So, you know, and it's neat. Sometimes you can go and if you need to make your font look, you know, different, like a goat's eye or something weird like that. You know, now that's your O. You stuff around. So, anyways, but this Cricut will cut like a shape. But if you try to export text that has not been converted to a shape, it will go bonkers. So do yourself a favor, and when you go to File and you go to Export, either make sure you've already converted it the way I just did, or just click this little box. You know, text is curves, and you could go and once you get everything set like that, you could go save a preset and name it, you know, Cricut output or whatever, and just export and save it where you want to. Go right into Cricut, just fine. Anyways, long video, so sorry, and I'll talk to you.